introduce us then.
Yeah. No.
Let's on LinkedIn listen to us.
And fade out.
Sick, see that?
Right, welcome to RecTalk's very first roundtable. So this is an end to season 1. So we've got guests from our season 1 episodes. I'll let you guys go around the table and introduce yourselves. So shall we start with ladies first?
Shall we?
So I'm knitting.
I'm Rebecca Pay. I'm a CV writer, and I love to pole dance and eat ice cream. And I get loads of clients from LinkedIn because I'm a little bit different and I'm really bloody good at writing CVs.
Did you mention the ice cream bit as well?
I did, yeah.
Good.
Hi, Steve Guest, probably best known for writing Top Biller.
All right, stop going on about it.
I've been in
It's only the best recruitment ever written in the history of mankind.
In the world, I am.
Yeah, in the world, yeah.
Been in recruitment 18 years, run my own recruitment business, also train and mentor recruitment consultants.
Robert Woodford, I run The Marketing Junction. We're a marketing consultancy that works solely with recruitment businesses, and we focus on return on investment rather than pretty pictures.
You went over a little bit.
Did I?
It's really solid stuff. I'm knitting from RecTalk.
I'm Sean from My Pajama Group? My Pajama Group, yeah. we specialise in pyjamas within recruitment.
It's a little bit.
It's a proper, it's a 90s kids pyjama top, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it is my pajama top.
It's nice, yeah. Go on.
So I'm Sean from My Pajama Group. Also, obviously, dabbled in RecTools as well.
I'm James, a co-founder of Loop Taskwear. We're a software consultancy.
I'm Simon. I own Compare Recruitment Factoring, which helps recruitment businesses compare factoring solutions.
I'm Darren. I'm here because Will couldn't make it.
Let's just. I want to throw some shade in the direction of Will Grashoff for a second.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Will, you suck, bro.
He's too big time for us. He ain't even going to be watching this.
Yeah, Will, you suck.
Too big time now. No, as I explained, Darren, the reason that you're invited in the con was because BB got you confused with Mark Hopkins.
Yeah, I look a lot like him.
Yeah, that was it. That was right. Yeah.
I can't do Welsh as well.
No,
Well, I got a last minute invite because they realised it was all boys and they needed some girl energy.
I'm just because I put that out, right? And between BB and Knitting, they didn't recognise that, so I'm going to throw shade their way now because I did say to you, we need some more women.
Yeah, we haven't had many women on the podcast, and I just assumed that you'd be busy. I got the impression you didn't really enjoy your time on RecTalk the last time you came, so I was like,
Why? Why do you think that?
I don't know.
Just hit you.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you swang for him after the show.
I don't know on the way out. You were like, I really didn't enjoy that.
Anger issues.
Yeah, no. Again, oversight. I apologise. And we thank you for making the effort to come here. And I've bought you your own vodka and your own cranberry.
It's great.
It's a big glass of vodka, though.
It's a big old.
Yeah, it's a big glass of vodka.
Which is out tonight, isn't she? So this is pre-vintage. She's out.
Yeah. What are you drinking, Steve?
Water.
He's got a rep,
Behaving.
man. You know what these authors are like?
Yeah.
He's left his scarf in the car.
Yeah, he's going to go to a reading after this, aren't you?
Everybody needs a cravat.
Well, obviously, there's a range of topics that we wanted to discuss today. And I think everyone's kind of got some exposure into the recruitment world, be that either sort of marketing into recruitment, running an agency or supplying, but also kind of hiring managers and any kind of business that leans into recruitment. And the one thing that has ultimately brought us all together in terms of our own networks is LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So one of the first things that we want to talk about is the power of LinkedIn, the good, the bad, the ugly, the really shit AI ChatGPT thing that they've created on the messaging side. So I guess it's just about getting your thoughts on how LinkedIn has impacted your businesses and what you guys do. Anybody want to go?
I'll kick off. I love LinkedIn. So I've been on LinkedIn since 2012, 2011, I reckon.
Was LinkedIn even around then?
Yeah, it was. I went on a client meeting and he was a big business development manager for a big corporate client, and he recommended that I should be on there because that's where all the cool people hang out. Not sure why he said I should be on there, but from that point onwards...
Because you were wearing your cravat and had your top biller book in hand.
Yeah.
Is that your headshot on LinkedIn?
And ever since then, really, it's helped me be a better recruiter. It's helped me have a kind of almost like a second database. It's created personal branding. It's, I suppose, everything that I do now derives from LinkedIn. 75% of my placements last year were from the postings that I post, not necessarily about what I'm looking for. But people interact and engage off the platform because they've seen something that's there. I post or try and post twice a day.
Do you think it's changed much from when you started then? Because obviously LinkedIn 2012 was very... Cause
Yeah.
I know I joked about it not being invented then, but actually 2012, we were in banking at that time. I don't know if you remember or not, but we were at Nationwide around about then. And I remember I ended up going onto LinkedIn because I went on a training course, and one of the other branch managers was like, "Oh, you need to get yourself on LinkedIn. All the recruiters just poach you, and then you can just like get."
Yeah, I was going to say, I first found out about LinkedIn because it was a mate of mine who was like, if you're looking for a job,
You go on LinkedIn, yeah.
somebody will find you on there, and I was a bit like, it's a bit weird, man. It's a bit weird. I didn't do it.
I used to sit there on a Friday, and I would pull up a list of quantity surveyors or estimators. I'd have my Chinese and a glass of wine or something, and I'd sit there, and that list I would just connect with absolutely everyone, and I'd go through a list of 200-300 people.
Yeah,
This is before the days of premium and all that sort of stuff.
There was never that, was
But
there?
you'd still get, if people didn't accept the invite, you'd still get kicked off. And I used to go back to LinkedIn and say, "Can you let me back
Same.
I'm a recruitment consultant."
Oh, you used to get kicked off.
Yeah, you get so many
do
connection
now,
requests.
yeah.
They say, and then you'd start.
If you had 5, I think it was 5 people that said they didn't know
know
you,
you,
you'd send a request.
they block
to.
you.
That's right, yeah, because you used to have to put email addresses and shit,
Yeah,
didn't
you
you?
get-
If you do now, if you put too many requests in one day, they'll lock your account or stop you doing certain things, or they'll stop the reach on your posts.
Really?
and
That's
stuff.
interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know
There's all
that.
different levels of like.
Yeah.
I used to say
What
I was
I
like
could do.
picked on because I was a recruitment consultant. I'd place people and then they didn't want to know me, and that's why they say they don't know me, so they don't want to connect back up.
Oh, so you used to lie.
Pretty much,
okay.
and then they let that back on, and then I'd do it again the next Friday.
Which is totally uncommon in the recruitment world.
None of them are very true.
I'll tell you how I feel about LinkedIn. I think you told me a story once about like a convention that you'd gone to and taken the time out of your day, and everybody there was a seller and nobody there was a buyer.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like LinkedIn is a bit like that.
Yeah, it's turned into that. I completely agree with that. It's everyone's selling their shit, and there's not that many people buying shit, and they're all sort of trying to sell to each other like a really crap networking event.
Do you know what I'd change? So I used to be that person. I used to be the one that would send the messages, or it would be a constant pitch fest, or it would just be connecting to contact. But nowadays, I don't send many emails, really. It's all about the posts I put out and the engagement it gets. So actually, the audience is coming to me as opposed to me.
Give us the marketing insight on that, because there's a psychology behind that, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it's massive.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's going to throw you under the bus of some bullshit psychology I've just made up.
Obviously, they look pretty. You told me I wouldn't have to say anything.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it as well is the algorithms have hugely changed. So like now, like I'm seeing, I used to see like a whole range of stuff, and it was quite holistic. Now I see very specific things. I see the same people over and over again. And actually, my experience of LinkedIn, it's not as pleasurable as it was before. So I think.
In what way?
I see a lot of people selling me their personal branding shit.
Yeah, I see a lot.
And it's
Yikes.
I was like,
Just before you go on to that, Rob, what's your last book called? Steve?
It might be called a personal brand story. If you do want a copy,
I'd love a copy.
it's not on LinkedIn.
I think personal brand is good, and clearly that's like a part of what LinkedIn is there for. But it just seems so fake. I'm sure people must be making stuff up to put on there.
You're saying that there's the same people just flogging you like what you seem is like a dead horse.
Yeah. And actually before you could have, I suppose it's going a little bit how Twitter's going. You know, people are all shouting, and people are starting off everything with, this might sound controversial, and then it's not.
Yeah.
You know,
They
it's
have
just-
made recent changes,
Yeah,
though.
but they have.
Very recent changes, which it should be moving more away from just people with like a random selfie and then a post that's got nothing to do with the selfie, and like random viral
So are they
things
focusing
that
on
they've lifted,
suppressing that
videos
sort of
they've
stuff
lifted
now?
from somewhere else or whatever, and it gets like 3,000 likes, and you're like, what is this crap? They're trying to get away from that. They're trying to, whether it'll work or not, but they're trying to push it towards more that you should see more stuff from people who are your first connections rather than just everyone. You should see more people with first connections, and also you should see more stuff that they'll push more people who are kind of seen as experts in their fields. kind of thought leaders. I hate that term.
Yeah, because they're doing that. Aren't
They're
they?
trying to
pushing
push
those
that a bit
sorts
more.
of-
So there should be more about like the value and the kind of stuff that you have in your post, rather than just this is what I had for dinner or
Because
whatever. Do you know what I
LinkedIn
mean?
went through a bit of a journey, didn't it? In that it almost became Facebook, didn't it?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
started going into that world of like, oh, load your reels, load your stories, and all
Yeah,
that
they're
sort
trying
of
to
shit,
push it
didn't
back the other way, I think.
Yeah, and I think now they're going back to the early days that you were saying of you've got to throw X amount of connection requests in, and if you don't, then you get kicked off. See it, Mark? Go on, Darren.
I just think that there's just far too many miserable people in the world complaining about LinkedIn. I don't have any problems with the platform at all. Never have. I've used it as a recruiter. I've used it as a supplier to recruiters. And as a recruiter, I started off in '93, and one of my jobs was to phone around hundreds of companies and try and map out who their hierarchy was so as we could headhunt them. I can just go on to LinkedIn if I'm in the right niches and I can see their entire hierarchy. So all those painful phone calls to get past the decision makers and all of that type of malarkey, don't have to do that if LinkedIn covers your niche. So I think society is just getting a little bit, whingy.
But you're always a
Um,
glass half full kind of guy, aren't you, Darren?
I am a glass half full for sure, but I think too much whinging about LinkedIn full stop. And in terms of business, I do all my business on LinkedIn, all of it. I mean,
It's got your customers are on there.
Yeah.
There's not a recruitment agency out there that's not on LinkedIn, and if they are, they're not worth selling a website to.
I only have one pet hate about LinkedIn, and that's when people generalise about the recruitment industry. Like there was a post up. That's a red rag to a bull for me. There was a post up today, right? And the post said, the hard truth is that not many recruiters are growing right now. Well, this person who said that may have a connection with about 4,000 or 5,000 recruiters. There's 500,000 in the industry. There's 40,000 registered at Companies House. How can you possibly say the recruitment industry is not growing right now? And the reason that was said, because we wanted to say something nice about a client that he knew was growing. And I think what LinkedIn needs to do to change that kind of personal branding and selling shit stories and all of that type of thing is, if your story doesn't add up on its own merit and you can't sell your idea or your concept without having to say the industry's doing this or the industry's doing that, then don't post it.
I suppose what you're saying
fact check it. You can't fact check people, though, can you? This is the point. You can't, especially with a content-rich platform. I agree in the thing is, it's easy content. Well, I'm going to go on LinkedIn, I need to put something out, I'm running short of content, I'm just going to talk shit about recruiters because
everyone knows
it's a bandwagon,
stuff,
everybody loves it.
Then jump on it.
But
and they'd be like, "Oh."
it's the reason it's an easy bandwagon to jump onto is because there are crap recruiters out there. There are people delivering shit service. There are people who are letting candidates down, not giving feedback, not emailing them back, engaging with people and then just dropping them off. So it's easy.
That's not exclusive to recruitment though, because take CV writing, right? You're great at what you do, but I bet you there's another 30, 40, 50 that are really shit.
Who's that guy that threatens people?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yes,
Horrendous.
yeah, there is one. Yeah,
Yeah, really bad.
Do you know his name?
People.
Rob Woodford, I think
He's got several different names he uses actually, and he literally bullies people and he threatens them if they don't go with the service. I've had people come to me that have paid him money and then they've got an absolute pile of crap given
I
to them
heard
back.
that you've paid somebody to do that for you. Turn that business round your way, and you're like the knight in shining armour, whereas
It's no
actually
good though, is it? If someone's already wasted money on a CV writer, the last thing you want to do is spend
Well, you got the money
on a CV
anyway, so it doesn't
writer.
really matter.
Yeah, it's really bad. There's some he's an extreme example. This guy, he's an absolute.
But I guess that's the
nightmare.
point, though, right? Is that you've got people in your industry who are awful at what they do, and there are people in our industry and people in marketing. Well, you know my opinion on marketing. But my opinion on marketing is that there is exactly that sort of that level of not deceit, because I think that's a harsh word, but there's definitely a level of kind of stuff that gets snuck under the radar and covered up in marketing, which is like we talked on our podcast, Rob, where it's like if something goes really well and it's marketing, right? Yeah. But we can't attribute that to maybe the sales guys making just extra BD calls or somebody reading a book and thinking, fucking, I'm going to do it this way for the extra of revenue that comes in. But if something goes terrible, then it's like, well, actually, we haven't given this enough opportunity to work. The campaign hasn't had a chance to fully work. And Rob's great at what he does, but there are definitely marketing people that we've spoken to who.
I've heard that.
In fact, he hasn't got time for new customers. So
He's got as much time.
You jump in the gun, just I might be able to squeeze you in. Yeah.
But the point, if you email him with discount code RecTalk. No, but if you've got various different industries who are performing badly, then obviously that's going to be vocalised. But I guess the issue is there are probably more recruiters on LinkedIn than there is any other industry, isn't there? Which is why you hear about it a lot more.
Perhaps. I find that the kind of like most numerous demographic in LinkedIn are those people that claim that they can fill your inbox with like qualified sales leads.
Yeah.
Oh,
Lead generators.
Grow your network.
Yeah.
250 contacts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I had a message from
I
this
do one
guy.
every day.
I had a message from a guy yesterday or the day before, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be able to increase your network following. I'm going to be able to do this, and this." It's like, all right, let me have a look. Went on to his profile. He's got like 300 connections, and he posted the last time like 4 weeks ago. I'm like, how are you going to help me? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. Like, what even gives you the balls to be able to message?
There's a lot of that about. There's a LinkedIn coach, who I certainly won't name, but someone who posts on Facebook a lot, and gets lots of customers through, like, to help them with their LinkedIn through Facebook, which is fine. Fine, that's what works for them. I freaking hate Facebook, but anyway, let's not go there because my clients just aren't there. But on LinkedIn, they do rubbish. And I've seen a post from this particular person on LinkedIn saying they're struggling, they don't know how to get leads, this is happening, it's all going bad. Like, you're a LinkedIn coach, why are you posting that you can't get leads? I mean, that's what you're like selling that as a business to help other people. It's
Got my LinkedIn conspiracy theory. I reckon those guys, the kind of business that they're running, is the product of one of those get-rich-quick type of pyramid things. Yeah,
they've signed up to
like
some sort of hustlers university.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'll teach you how to run a business.
10x it. They start mentioning 10x, or their price ends in a 7.
Yeah.
I'm out.
My thing is when I get facts thrown at me like 99% of people don't do this or the 1% of people do this, that for me is like, yeah, I'm not interested in whatever you're trying to sell, but whatever you're selling, I'm not interested.
Every time I hear any facts, I always throw back at, did you also know that 78% of facts are made up on the spot? And it always throws people. They're like, yeah. Exactly.
When did the emoji bullet points start? I hate that.
Do you know what? But it gets engagement though.
To be fair, I've done it.
Why does that work?
What? Because it's different. It's sort of like pattern disruption, isn't it?
Colour.
It's easy to read as well.
It's, when you're scrolling through and you're seeing the same old shit or the ways it's presented in the same manner, it's different and therefore grabs your attention.
Did you invent that? Is that in the
my name on LinkedIn?
I've actually finally put an emoji in mine.
And I've done it. It really annoys my other half because she thinks I'm saying everything's hot when I comment, because the first thing so I can comment.
This is hot. That's hot.
But actually,
Why do you keep saying this woman's hot?
if you look down the whole list of comments, mine's the one you go to.
It's the one you see.
It's got the red yellow flame. And
But you know, you shouldn't officially have that because it's not an actual name.
And they could breach you for that. They probably.
So I don't know if anyone knows Leah Turner.
But no, she didn't get breached because of that. She got breached because she's very vocal and attracts certain type of attention.
Well, yeah.
It can't be just because she got a fucking rainbow in her name.
No, she got a report because she had the rainbow name, so she changed her middle name to Rainbow so they couldn't stop it.
That's ridiculous.
I know, it's funny, but it's good marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's content, isn't it?
Is it good marketing, Rob?
If it was
Dunno.
next week, 'cause it got
We've got a couple of questions come through on the live stream. Dominic Southam wants to know, would any of the group hire anyone who used YouTube to record their CV or a job application?
Yes.
I wouldn't not hire them because of it.
Yeah, I mean
You would
YouTube.
only,
YouTube is
regardless of what the video's like.
Yeah, I mean YouTube
Naked,
is an
probably.
undiscovered marketing tool. You know, I mean recruiters should be getting content onto YouTube because it's the second largest search engine.
Completely agree,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, why not? I mean, I actually got pitched by a recruitment company down in Norwich, and all the staff that they're trying to pitch, they're marketing candidates out, and they're all on video. And from the videos that they put together, I was able to make a decision as to whether I want to take that person forward or not. I mean, obviously the quality of the video counts, but yeah, YouTube's a fantastic platform.
So if you were hiring for a junior dev to work alongside you, take off some of the workload, or a marketing expert because you were sick and tired of giving him leads. Sorry. So YouTube video comes in, you'd be in the mindset to be like, I'm more likely to hire this person.
It demonstrates some effort, I think.
Again, yeah. I mean, DevOps, they can show me some DevOps taking place on screen. I can forward that to people in my company who know what that means.
So are we talking exclusively YouTube here, or are we just talking video in general?
Yeah, well, the question here was like YouTube as an example, but yeah, I think in general, video is probably
because is that any different then to kind of the interview and odd rows type stuff where you're putting together a here, this is what I'm about, have a look.
Yeah.
So we're talking video in general then?
That's normally done by the recruiter, isn't it?
It's flipping the switch, isn't it? Yeah.
Coming directly. I think it's just anything that makes you stand out differently, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
I think it could work to your benefit or not, because I think the kind of, as far as my experience goes, reading and writing CVs, it's probably your domain, really, isn't it? But
that was a chance for a shameless plug there.
My intentions are usually to reveal enough information, only just that incites further conversation, so that you've still got something to sort of show. And I feel that you could potentially give away a little bit too much in a video, and I think that even if you just kind of consider some of the other context around it, like, you know, production quality and those sorts of things, those are all going to have an impression.
Yeah.
So I think if the content of the video is really good and they came across really well and it was very well produced, I'd be like, oh shit, that's actually really good.
But that's no different to and again, Rebecca, you'll probably be the expert of this, but that's no different to having a good CV which is on a shit format. The content could be great, but it's just really poorly formatted
and poorly presented or something.
Yeah, and it's just like one giant text box of just information.
Yeah, so then people will be put off reading it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like anything, like, much as we would say what someone looks like and all the rest of it shouldn't matter, it does. Like, it affects you, like you have a reaction to it or whatever. And like you're saying, if someone sees a video and you look, you know, you don't come across well, like maybe you're not very confident on video. Some people hate being on video, don't they? And you're kind of awkward and terrible.
They look like they're in like a hostage video, don't they? I am being treated really well here.
But maybe if you're really charismatic on video and you know you can carry that off, then that's worth doing, isn't it?
It does give you an opportunity to play your theme tune. So.
And you get to play your theme tune,
When I've had messages on LinkedIn or emails, I get a fair few, but the ones that are videos or voice, I'll always listen to.
Yeah. That's that pattern disruption thing though, because it's different.
It's the same as you don't get as many.
You get those viral and it's always on like things like Facebook and Twitter and stuff of like the law graduate standing with a sign at
the able
at a very busy train station, being like, I've just graduated, somebody give me a job. It's pattern disruption because again, there are going to be recruiters that are going to walk past and be like, oh, I like that, that's different. I don't know anything about this candidate, and there's no reason for me to invite this guy in for an interview or this girl in for an interview, short of the fact that they've gone, here's what everyone else is doing, i.e. one-click apply on job boards, and I'm
the best reason is then you can write a nice post about it on LinkedIn. I hired this guy that was in the station.
Find him the next day.
It's great for your personal brand.
Otherwise, there's no point in hiring that person, right? Because you can't post about it on LinkedIn.
It's a chapter 6 on personal brand story, right? Yeah. Find a homeless person, feed him, but only on camera, like things like that.
Is that not the same though? Like the video or YouTube CVs, would that not be the same then if you would strip it really far back to when people used to put pictures on their CV? Because that for a time period was like, oh, that's different. Okay, and those CVs were the ones that were always looked at. I remember our time during a big agency that we worked for. Not mentioning any names. Should we mention the names? We can mention names. We work for Mark-Page. We work for Mark-Page. There was a couple of recruiters.
I think everyone knows this by now.
Yeah, they should do. Yeah, but there were recruiters there that would exclusively look at the CVs on like the job boards that had pictures on them first, because like, oh, I want to see who that person is, just because of general curiosity, I guess. So I suppose the video CV would do something. I
think it helps for. So we had another question / comment on the live stream, which is from Paul Nightingale, the guy from Juniper, the apprenticeship providers for recruitment apprenticeships. He makes a really good point. So apprentices who have no work experience, what am I supposed to write on a CV? What do you want to know? Like, I'll give you my education, what I'm into, but like I've got no work experience and I can't demonstrate that. A video interview or a video CV of some form surely is better for that kind of person, right? So if you think, we all do,
and they haven't got a lot, but it's just making yourself stand out a little bit different, because when we've hired the last batch we probably had about 60 or 70 CVs. And they were all saying the same thing. You know, it was like at school I was part of the team, or at university I was part of the team.
And then what else are they supposed to do? I mean, we've got 2 apprentices in the business at the moment, and
they're rubbish, to be fair.
Neither were hired based on their CV at all. It was a 15-minute Teams interview and gone, yeah, I like this person. We think back to when we hired Emily, that apprenticeship company, that basically what they did was record their conversation with these candidates. Why do you want to work in recruitment? What is it about that? Blah, blah, blah. And we went, that person comes across confident, that person comes across confident.
Yeah. That guy's headphones are massive.
That guy's headphones are really big, and that person looks like they're being forced to do this probably by their dad who stood in the hallway. Like, you know what I mean? You could tell who was into it and who wasn't. And their CVs were obviously just not going to be very good, right? So to answer your question, Paul, I think, a video presentation of candidates is
I think it can be a time thing though, can't it? Because realistically, if you've got like 200 candidates and they're all sending a video, you're just going to sit and watch
10-minute video.
Well, but again, give me a 30-second elevator pitch then, right? Because again, if you're an investor and you're looking to invest in businesses, you're only giving people 30-second pitches and pitch decks, and pitch decks.
I mean, that's a pretty shit investment strategy if you're giving them 30 seconds.
No. To decipher, well, you're not going to read through everything each time. You're going to short this down from like 200 applicants or 200 potential investments to, okay, here's the 6 I'm interested in. You've only got that 30-second pitch.
No, you hire somebody to just read through all that shit.
Or you hire somebody to
don't you, Simon?
So how would you do it then?
Well, I would want them to do what they felt comfortable with. So it could be
expressive dance.
But it could be a video. It could be a portfolio. It could be saying that these are my social media accounts. Like for us, if we're hiring marketing people, these are the social media accounts I'm running in my personal account.
Okay.
Different things.
Yeah, I suppose what you're talking about is relevance, right?
Yeah.
Is because when we were looking at a social media person, one of the things that we looked at was, okay, it shows your portfolio, show us what you're doing with the customers or clients that you
with the small hands.
Don't. Stop it. Yes, but
we look like David Brent.
Since we mentioned Jeremy Beadle.
No, it wasn't that.
We're talking to a younger crowd, Rebecca. Like we're the oldies now. You can't mention names like Jeremy Beadle. Like these guys don't.
They're like, which one of the paedophiles was that?
Wow.
But no. So when we were looking for let's say when we hired Bibi as sort of content creator, we were looking at the video content that she was putting together. We were looking at kind of all the portfolios that she had. We later found out that she has the marketing assistant to help her do it, but. The innovation piece was there, right?
Screwed over there.
Yeah, but equally, when we're looking at devs, we're looking at GitHub repositories, aren't we? So I suppose it's the same for you, isn't it? You don't really care what a CV looks like if the GitHub is there.
I think as somebody who's kind of interviewed and is considering again apprentices as an option, I think
reach out.
Yeah, maybe. I think
Paul Nightingale.
I think you made a really good kind of comparison to investments, because I think that they effectively need to pitch themselves as like an investment opportunity for
Absolutely,
you.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is, if you don't have much to write on a CV, what I really want to know are about ambitions, not about your Duke of Edinburgh or your whatever.
No, that's it. Right, yeah.
They're hard to come by, those Duke of Edinburghs, okay? So let's not...
or the fact that you spent a week in Dolly Mock, like, none of that's irrelevant. I want to know where
you need to convince someone that you actually want to do it.
Yeah.
I think you really want to be there. Like you were saying, it sounds like someone's dad. It looked like someone's dad was in the corridor or whatever. Like you need to kind of get that across, and whether it's on a CV or video or whatever works for you.
What about in your industry, Simon? Because finance is one of those things where you can't fall into it. You choose to go into it, right? So are there many apprentices being hired in finance, or what's the selection criteria to kind of end up in that world?
Yeah, definitely not in invoice finance, definitely not a young person market. So if you looked at the overall invoice, I would say most of the market is probably 30s upwards.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. And a lot of the people that work in it come from a banking background. So they've worked in a bank, they worked in a high street bank. Their first job was in when there were high street banks.
We spoke to Paul at Zodec about this, remember? And I'm of the opinion that financial services is one of those industries that just is still way behind.
So dated. So dated.
Even still, there's like paper trails and various different types of... Like, there's so much that could be cleaned up with the use of like automation or new tech and all that sort of stuff, but they just choose not to do it.
You'd be amazed how many recruitment businesses, maybe 1, 2, 3 man bands that still don't use an accountancy package, for argument's sake. Yeah. So they're still raising their sales invoices in Publisher or Excel and things like that, and they don't even... No, and it's genuinely true. So, yeah.
How are they doing their VAT returns?
Well, they're not.
Make text digital, all that.
It's absolutely frightening.
Goodness me, right.
And there's just no education. That's definitely in the finance space for business. I think when we did the podcast together, when you guys set up, you kind of said, look, We didn't even know there was a way of funding temps. So recruitment consultants think about setting up their own, but we won't set up on our own because we don't even know how to fund a temp desk because the temp's got to be paid weekly. And you'd be amazed about how many consultants thinking about doing it don't know there's that type of solution in the market.
Well, we came from banking, right? And we'd like to think of ourselves as relatively intelligent and astute within the financial services sector, and a little bit in recruitment now. But even then, we were just like blown away by the fact that like there's all these different weird and wonderful payment terms and packages and all this entire different world of how commercial does finance and does kind of invoicing and stuff compared to how you would. I mean, you go to buy anything. You go to Tesco and like, all right, I'm going to do my week shopping at Tesco. I'd like to sign up for your 7-day payment terms package. It just wouldn't happen, would it? Whereas in the commercial world it does.
I think Klarna would probably argue otherwise. But.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, well, no. Yeah.
Get your kebab on Klarna now, Yeah, okay. No, but I remember thinking this when I went into accounting and finance recruitment for the first time, and I'm like, okay, so talk to me about these different jobs, and they're like, right, this is what a credit controller does, and I'm like, so why don't people just pay their bills on time? I'm like, wow, exactly. That's why there's a credit control industry, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I have to pay my bill on time. Why don't businesses? And then, like, fast forward sort of 6 years from that point, and we're like, just
our finance manager's always like, guys, this invoice is due.
Pay this invoice.
Yeah, we know.
Like, yeah, it's like just they've misspelled my name there. I'm not happy with it. That could be anybody.
Has the final demand come in yet? No. Well, then we'll just pay for that, won't we? Right, so that kind of, I suppose, moves us nicely over to the use of automation, because LinkedIn have tried to use automation. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but they've got this little magic wand on the messaging on LinkedIn, where it does like a ChatGPT based prospecting message, and I think there's only like 2 versions. I showed you, didn't I? There was like 2 options or something.
Are they actually using ChatGPT, or are you just using that as a...
I'm just using that as like a baseline.
I would imagine it's using ChatGPT.
I don't know, because that was shit compared to
Microsoft. Well, no. Right, it's LinkedIn who are owned by Microsoft, and it's their only large language model is ChatGPT through OpenAI. That's commercially available. So it's
LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft.
Do you know that?
No, that's blown my mind.
Really? Really?
Yeah. Listen,
do you see what I have to do every day?
Listen,
my life is.
I am
for 5 years or so, maybe.
Breaking news.
Yeah, I'm happy to admit that when it comes to tech, this is my guy. Like, I
get all my info from him. You can cut me out and just go straight to him.
Yeah, but when it comes to the other stuff, I could do that. But I didn't realise LinkedIn was owned by.
I mean, Darren's been chatting shit about WordPress websites recently. And that's making me really nervous.
Well, what's happening with WordPress?
Oh, don't get me started.
No.
How long have we got?
Not long. Not long, Darren, please.
So anyway,
unless they're made by your guy, because he's the number one at recruitment websites.
Well, yeah. Tristan's.
Tristan. Yeah. Sorry, apologies, Tristan.
That's all right.
Tristan, come into the shot and give us a wave.
Yeah, come on, Tristan. Give us a wave.
I'm only joking, you don't have to. You hate it.
But yeah, we're only number 2. Tristan knocked us off the top spot as soon as he started making WordPress websites. WordPress, just to cut that one off, they're as good as the people that build them. And they're as good as the amount of maintenance that you let those people deliver.
Yeah. Are they owned by Microsoft too?
He's just scared.
Everything is owned by
Microsoft. These mics. They're going to cut them off in a minute.
When you said earlier, Sean, that you like to think of yourself as clever, that like was operative, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. No, I was being genuine.
Yeah. LinkedIn proved it.
Yeah. But LinkedIn have obviously introduced this automation piece, which by the sounds of it sounds like it's from ChatGPT.
It's more than likely on ChatGPT, and it was awful.
But it is ChatGPT and other automation, all that sort of stuff, is encroaching into every part of our business, right? So for recruitment, I mean, we do a lot on AI with RecTalks and stuff like that. But then I guess, would it not work for you, Darren, when you're building websites, having like the content put on a website using ChatGPT? Was that going to be a time saver?
So I think the automation tools are definitely going in the right direction with content, and you know that I use your blogging tool, and you've got obviously the GOAT's opinion, Mitch Sullivan, on the job writing advert piece.
He didn't like it.
I don't have any problem.
He didn't like it. He didn't write it.
But I don't have any problem with those tools, because they give you a starting point, if nothing else. And if I'm sitting there trying to create blogs for a customer, the biggest problem is coming up with the idea in the first place. If I just don't want to go to Google itself, or what's the top 25 blogs for education, and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think what those tools do is they bring out some idea stimulation and get you past that stage. Some of the content they produce is good enough straight out of the box. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, from a website point of view, your website's got to do please 4 people. It's got to please you from your branding point of view. It's got to please your customers from customer-led information point of view, and the candidates the same. But it's also got to keep Google happy. Mm-hmm. And Google is not that bright at all, right? It's like a 2-year-old child. So ChatGPT blog posts.
Click that. Google is like a 2-year-old child. Darren Revell.
They will feed into that part of Google's algorithm. You can easily confuse it.
Yeah.
I think where people are getting confused is they think that the blog needs to be, like Einstein about your industry or your sector or your knowledge, and that's why you employ people like the Marketing Junction, because they write you the Einstein level quality, right? And then
you want to clip that.
I'm on a roll. Don't interrupt. And,
apologies.
And then you want to go on to RecTools and use the blog writing tool for the SEO cannon fodder type material.
So are you saying then that using AI is more of a kind of a way to avoid writer's block, or kind of overcome that writer's block piece?
It's a way to avoid writer's block, but it's also a grinding tool. Lots of content is pure grind.
Yeah.
And as I said, you can't, if you come to me for an SEO strategy, then 60-70% of that strategy will be to grind out content just for Google's algorithm, right? And as I say, that's a different level of content to what you're going to try to put in front of a decision.
That copywriter argument that's out there at the minute, with a lot of content specialists and copywriters are really kind of attacking things like GPT and Bard and all the...
well, there's one particular copywriter who we were talking about yesterday that was really kind of good.
Yeah, I like her, so I'm not going to name drop her and stuff, but she's got a real issue with people using AI. But the issue I've got is, if I want to write a blog about invoice financing, I'm not the invoice financing the specialist. I need your input on it. Mm-hmm. You're not going to write a blog for me because you're not a copywriter. Mm-hmm. So the nearest thing I've got to somebody who understands that industry better than me and can string together a blog that looks presentably enough to read is AI. Mm-hmm. And then I can put my own input and be like, oh, hang on, that's a bit Americanized, we'll change that and we'll change this, and there you go, I've got a pretty decent blog. Because if I am a web development business who's been engaged by an invoice financing business to make their website and chuck in about 10 blogs to get me started, well, I'm not a specialist in your field, and nor is that copywriter that I'm engaging with, because I can tell you now, that copywriter is just very, very good with words. Yeah. He or she is not good at understanding the nuances of your industry, whatever it is you do.
Let me know.
Like, do you know what I mean? That's my sort of take.
The question I've got though is,
that.
Steve, how much of your book was written by AI?
Tell the truth.
Top Miller 2 might be.
That might be worth a little project. Yeah.
So Rebecca, obviously for you, you're kind of in that copywriting, CV writing space, right? Now I can tell you now that I have gone on to ChatGPT and I've thrown my father-in-law's CV in there because he's an engineer. I know fuck all about engineering, so my thing was just I'm going to chuck that in there, explain what he does a little bit, and it spat out a decent enough CV. He read through it, was like, yeah, okay, I'll just change a few bits here, and within about half an hour we had what was a pretty good CV. But for you, that sounds like scratching chalkboards, right?
I think a bit like Darren said, they can do a lot of the donkey work for you for stuff, and I admit that. And I think there's going to be better CV AI writing tools that will be developed, and there's some in the making already. And I think you could use it to get a half decent CV out. But partly it's what you put into it for a start. Mm-hmm, yeah. You have to give it good prompts. And actually, ChatGPT, if you get it really good prompts for stuff, it can do shitloads of stuff. It's really, really good. It can come up with business plans and all kinds of stuff. But I think with my CV writing particularly, my process is what the clients get the most out of. Mm-hmm. And if you're just throwing some information into it and getting a CV out, that's not having any change on you as a person. There's no engagement with a person. That's not building their confidence. They're not going through their skills and achievements. what I have with clients when they come to me, they can't write their CV because they're not sure what their skills are, or they don't know how to get it in words. Like they're getting all in a muddle with it. Some people haven't got the confidence.
Which you can give them the best AI tool in the world, they're still not going to be able to do it because they won't be able to prompt it.
You've got to give the right prompts, exactly.
Which is the point I was making the other day about the copywriter person, which is you're attacking like AI, but if that part of the market is happy to use AI to do what they need it to do, they're not your target market. They're not your customer base. They're never going to be your customers, right? If at the click of a finger they can be like, I'm going to get a computer to do what you do, that's not really the customer you want. What you want is that customer that's like, Rebecca, I know I can use this. I know I could probably write it myself. I know I could, between myself and this computer, bumble my way through it. But I don't want that. What I want is your input because I value what you do and the stuff that you're going to bring out of me that I'm just struggling with.
Yeah, part of it's like the conversation you have with the person, and what they come back with, and how it gets them thinking about themselves and what they want to do. And also for a lot of people, it's a time-saving thing, and they don't have time to do it all themselves. Even doing ChatGPT is going to take
strategy. I could go to GPT and it'll give me a strong SEO strategy. I can put in a website and go, rip this apart and give me some recommendations, or I could just go to the guy who's in the know and say, have a look at this and come back to me with, because I value what you do rather than what the machine tells me to do. You know what I mean?
It's the value add. So, and I think Darren and I have had a joint client, and they were starting up or rebranding. They wanted a whole new piece. Now they could have just gone onto AI and said, get me a logo that's got a bit of blue in it and a bit of green in it, and there you go, they've got a logo. But actually what we did, we sat down with them for several hours, got under the bonnet of their business, looked at their competitors, looked at where they were going, that whole brand piece, and built it up. And it's it's like,
but it's the human element, isn't it? But what you both described is the human element of the job that you do, isn't it?
But I think we're missing the fundamental point of where we're at with AI right now. Like, I'm 55 and I started washing cars when I was like 5, right? And
you don't look a day over 54, mate.
Well, there you go. And I had a bucket and I had a sponge. Now, if you go into my garage, I've got 5 brushes just for the wheels, right? So the tools are evolving and we're at the start of AI, right? I'll tell you something really embarrassing, head off one of those recruitment stories. When I was in recruitment, I was working niche market and the internet kicked off and it's like, you should do internet technologies, and I'm like, no, it's a fad. I'll stick with Novell Network. So, we've got a lot of those kind of conversations going on about AI right now. There's the doom and gloom, oh God, is it Halloween 17 and it's going to replace all copywriters? Clearly it's not. But we're at the infancy of it. So, after it's gone and studied a load of copywriting material, and what you said there was just pure gold. Like, yours is not... You're not writing a CV.
Clip that as well.
You're not writing a CV. You're turning somebody's life story into something valuable in that document that happens to be called CV. I mean, the Germans call them Lebenslauf or something like life history, and they come this thick. So we don't necessarily have the opportunity for that. Looping back into video, you convert that person's experience into a proper document, then you sample a little bit of video, and then AI chucks some other material into the email shot, for argument's sake, that goes out. So we won't know what the value of AI is, and 20 years from now we'll be sitting on the rocking chair, rocking backwards and forwards going, oh yeah, AI's made every decision for us, type of thing, or it won't. So
I'll give you some examples from like a software engineering perspective, because I'm kind of largely in the business of automation. I actually think that there's kind of like a graph that you could plot out on the maturity of the tooling and your kind of like reliance on it. And I think the importance of a task will sort of fall somewhere on that graph depending on the maturity of the tooling. And it will probably start out that if something is relatively unimportant and the tools are relatively immature, you would not trust that task to automation. You would prefer that a human does that. As the tools mature, you'll probably find that the more important tasks are only trusted to the automation, and you wouldn't allow a human to do them because they're too important for a human to make a mistake in given context. So I think as AI gets really, really important, there's probably going to be a very interesting crossover.
Can you put that into real terms then? So what would we define then as important and not important then? So in your world then, what would be something that you would currently trust AI to do?
Well, I think you kind of made a really good example about like blog writing, for example. If the content of that blog is only to serve the purpose of ranking on Google, for example, you might trust ChatGPT to write that blog for you. But if it was something that was kind of like very core to the proposition of your business, you're not going to trust ChatGPT to do that unless ChatGPT is an excellent blog writer and really understands your sector. So, but there may come a time, for example, where ChatGPT is so good that you wouldn't trust a human to write that blog.
It, really, yeah. That's a weird way to
look at it. That's interesting. So then in your world then, because what you're talking about within invoice financing is it's very data heavy, isn't it? In that, firstly, you've got to show bank statements, you've got to show accounts, you've got to show all of that sort of stuff.
It's very risk heavy as well.
Yeah.
Would the underwriters, would the banks trust computer to make the decisions? So.
Well, didn't they already, though, going into like the kind of Experian credit scoring system and all that sort of stuff? You had to fit within this category for you to be able to get approved for a mortgage or for whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
So would AI fit in that model then? Would you be able to just upload a shit ton of data into AI about a client? And that then spits out, okay, this is a good proposition.
No, they have like some of the more up to date funders have now got like APIs that link into accountancy packages, and they can actually go and they can suck straight into you and look at all the data, look at all your bank data, look at everything,
make a decision that's either strong or neither human's intervention. However, this one
it's not saying yes or no. It's just kind of going, this looks a bit greener and this looks a bit redder, and let's get someone real behind it and still spend 4 days behind it. I think we're a million miles off anything like this in the industry. So it's so slow, and
I mean, checks are still a thing in finance, so you know. Well,
true story. We had a client back in 2017 who used to pay us by check.
Yeah, they probably still would if we were.
I've had a client more recent than that that tried to send me a check. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
I remember taking a piss out of this client. Be like, God, the 2008 recession hasn't hit you guys yet, has it? Fucking hell, like you're for a shock.
I mean, what the hell?
What about for you then, Steve? Because I'm conscious that you've been a little bit quiet about this whole AI situation.
Yeah, I think I'm an late adopter. I think I'm so old school and stuck in my ways and OCD that I don't like.
Bit of breaking news, mate. I just found out that LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft.
I think I just struggle with it. I do little bits. I write all my own content. I think I'm that used to doing it. I don't really consider options outside it.
Is it that you don't trust AI to write the content that you do?
No, it's not that. It's just, it's quicker if I just do what I do because I'm used to it and it's part of my daily programme. It's how I set up my days and weeks. So,
but if you're anything like me, you enjoy writing the content anyway.
And sometimes
I wouldn't want to give it up to ChatGPT.
A lot of the stuff I post is spur of the moment, so it's something that's happened. I put my Karate Kid t-shirt on yesterday with Miyagi-Do Karate. That wouldn't be ChatGPT. That's me. And it's the posts are me. So I think if I started to put that somewhere else for something else to write,
do you think it'd be blatantly obvious then that it's been written by somebody else?
I think I would just know, and that to me that's more important.
So what in your world, I suppose, Steve, and I suppose yours, because you just said that you enjoyed the writing part. So is there any part of automation that you think that could fit well within my business?
I think the follow-up thing. So there's certain like little bit of automations which I know has been out there for ages. So automated email follow-ups, or when we send it email confirmations for interviews, it's an automated email that structures it off the database in terms of the details that are sent.
Yeah, it's got like insert fields and all that sort of stuff.
But if you could advance on that, right? So say you've got one of your consultants and they've spoken to Rob about a QS role, and based on the notes that they've made about that conversation with Rob, an AI tool will say, "Hey Rob, great news, got you an interview. I know you were up in the Lake District last week. How was that?" And they could do all of that bit for you.
Makes me really nervous.
Yeah. Does that
not sound?
And you don't like the sound of that either, do you?
Not really. No.
But you realise
takes the
it can do
personality
that.
out of it. Yeah.
There are CRMs that are available now, and this stuff is being rolled out.
Keynotes went to Lake District last week.
That will look at the notes, understand those notes. You don't have to put in certain boxes. You just got to type in your notes. Right, spoke to Rebecca, loves ice cream, mentions pole dancing a lot. That's weird. And it will generate a message directly to. But there's automation software for LinkedIn out there that does the same thing. So you'll send out connection requests. So you can put in a search field from LinkedIn into this automation software, and it will go, rather than just going, okay, hey Simon, I'm Steve, but you might know me, I'm a best-selling author. I might have mentioned that once or twice. Instead, what it will do is it will say, oh hey Simon, I've noticed that you like such and such, or I liked your last post about such and such. My thoughts on this were this. And it will build a conversation out and throw what looks like a more personalised in-mail out. Is that not? Do you not see the value of that?
Yeah, will it? Because it's like I get, because I put in there, in my LinkedIn, for example, the marketing junction, UK's #1 recruitment marketing, and it always puts, as you are the founder / director of so you can pick it up. So I think. Yeah, it can do this stuff, but I think at the moment it's not sophisticated.
It's too obvious, and you can see the comments that are written by AI.
And it also depends on the way it's been done. So if we, our CRM is it's got like these insert fields in there. So we could generate a message that says, "Hi, contact name. I'm looking to send a candidate of XYZ because of he worked at company name or previous company name and all that sort of stuff," and you could just add the little fields in.
Yeah, that's
but the problem is
a library of data though. What
but if that's written in block capitals or if it's written in a certain way, it looks very.
The AI tools now that are available through, and I'm not going to name drop the CRMs because it's unfair to the others that I talk to, but that it's not. What you're on about is based on a library of data. Look for this information, and place that information here because it means X, Y, and Z. The difference between the large language model that kind of operates in the middle is it makes sense of that data, and it'll look at it and go, Rob's Port, he's the owner / director, but that means the same thing. So I'm going to say, hey, I notice you're the founder of the Marketing Junction -- we do that's not the name of the business. The name of the business is Marketing Junction, and it will decipher all those little bits that are a bit painful and a bit like, come on mate, you're taking the piss out of me and I know what this is. It gets rid of that. That's what the purpose of the AI bit is in the middle, because actually the other stuff of, hey, first name, I see you're working
it's just a mail merge, isn't it?
That stuff's been around for decades. The software that's out there now is a lot more intelligent than that. A lot more. So
they're not as intelligent. The recruitment consultants aren't as intelligent, are they? So they're not completing that information. Like, how many databases have that information that they know?
See how nervously you said that as well. Like, they're a bit
they don't complete the database.
What I think stands out, certainly I feel for us and the consultants that work with me, we're still all very much phone based. And where I've worked before, some of our competitors, everything's messages, everything's emails, everything's written, everything's text, everything's automated, and you lose that sense of that kind of just normal conversation.
Well, let's
and actually picking up the phone and saying, how was your holiday in Cornwall
Lake District,
and all this. You get far more information from making that call than sending an automated message where everyone that's been to Cornwall in the last 3 weeks that's been on that database have had the same written text. For me,
and his gran might have been in Cornwall. They might have been in Cornwall for a funeral or something like that. And then you send this message, "How was your holiday?"
I think there's good points to it, but for me, if I'm trying to create a relationship to place a candidate or fill a role with a client, I'm picking up the phone.
You can't outsource that to AI.
What you're talking about is beneath the surface sort of stuff, right? Is the emotional intelligence piece, which I don't think AI is ever going to be able to pick up emotional intelligence like the funeral stuff. Because what you do, and what what all of us in effect do is when you and Rob were getting under the bonnet of that particular combined client that you had, was to create a logo. You can put a handful of information in there and it will spit out a logo, right? But what you guys are doing is really kind of bringing something to the forefront that resonates with the end client. And when we're recruiting for somebody, although the job spec will say they need X, Y, and Z, and some of the data might say that they need a personality that has these sort of qualities, but actually, if we look at it, there's more beyond that. I had a client recently.
There's so much where you don't just match a person's skill set with a job spec and say that's perfect.
Computers have been doing that for decades. Like, you wouldn't need the person to do that.
But that's the low-hanging fruit argument.
Again, I think
we're picking out the negatives, or it can't do this and it can't replace it. What about what it can do? Like, we used to have a team of people that would stay there for from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock in the evening, calling contractors, find out where they were in their contract. Was it going to be extended? Were they going to be available, and so on and so forth. Now, in IT recruitment, if you're working with a business analyst, the business analyst usually comes in, analyses the environment, and after that analysis is done, there's some form of change going to take place in that environment. Now, you can teach that to recruitment consultants, but they don't necessarily retain the momentum to keep that mundane stuff keep being asked. If you could have ChatGPT look at a CV and say, Deutsche Bank has just hired a business analyst, And my prediction is, going back to my stuff, Condor Plus, my prediction is that they'll be looking for ABAC programmers in 6 months' time and give that to a recruitment consultant and then put the recruitment consultant on the phone, as you say. None of this is to stop getting recruitment consultants on. You need recruitment consultants on the phone.
It's to make good consultants great, and give them additional tools, right? Yeah, additional details and data. Yeah.
Your cycle looks like you're this part of a way into your development cycle. I think I've got some people that would be available to you, to do this part of the program. Have you got that sorted yet? Have you resourced that? I mean, how wonderful would that be to start resourcing projects 6 months in advance?
I suppose what we're talking about here, we're almost on the verge of kind of utopia versus dystopia, aren't we, with AI? Because people like me and you are very much like, I'm not sure about this, but I mean, I didn't know Microsoft owned LinkedIn until 5 minutes ago. But the point is, though,
it's more 10 minutes now.
Yeah, the late adopters of us are probably a lot more, not fearful, I think that's the wrong word, but we're definitely more apprehensive about kind of what. So I saw this video not long ago. Some American, proper Republican knobhead, I can't remember who it was, right? But he basically had... Yeah, I can't remember. He was like a proper...
Is that a technical term?
Yeah, it was. It was like one of these Fox News arseholes. It was a proper, slick back fucking, really American chin, that sort of thing, right? and he...
You know about Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. So he
I like him.
Yeah, he was talking to Ben Shapiro about driverless technology and the fact that the technology exists for trucks to go out and just drive on their own. And he was like, okay, yes, technology can get us there, but what the fuck is the point? What does that achieve? All you're doing is putting 50-60% of the population out of work because you can just make this automated. So we're almost bordering on the line of what the fuck is the point? Because is it worth? Because again on the automation side, writing a piece of code on some very basic WordPress or kind of whatever other basic tech you've got.
WordPress. No.
But if you were to look at basic tech, I'm sure ChatGPT would be able to write a string of code.
Yeah, I've used it to write some meaningful, useful code.
Yeah, or blogs or whatever, right? So all of that sort of stuff is fine. But then when you start to really kind of advance it the way you're talking about the Lake District holidays and all that sort of stuff. What's the point?
I think it'll find its groove. I think, and it'll just naturally evolve over time, and we probably won't realise. If you look at where we are now with what your database can do that you use, when you first came into recruitment, if you thought what your database can do now versus, and you said that to you then, you'd have probably been like, oh no, I don't fancy that. It just evolves. I
think the trend in technology is that you're never able to predict. You can't predict. Whatever you think now, you're wrong, basically. Yeah. But if you go back 20 years and ask somebody, how phones might be today in our pockets.
Because it's something we can't think of.
We can't comprehend it.
Just can't comprehend it because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. So I wouldn't worry too much. If whatever you think it might be, you're probably wrong.
Yeah. So in your world, Rebecca, because I'd be really interested actually in that if you had a system or an AI or tech stack that would allow you to just have that conversation with your client, really kind of go into the same amount of detail, if not more, that you're currently doing, and be able to upload all of that into AI, for it to be able to then spit out to you, here's the video and here is the CV. Would that be useful to you or not?
Yeah, well, it would, but I don't think it would destroy my business in the fact that I'd still be doing the coaching piece with the client.
Yeah, you'd sidestep into doing the more personal stuff. It's no different to cast your mind back 40 years ago and your dad
wouldn't know, mate, I'm not old.
Cast your mind back 40 years ago and your dad would go get his suit on, get his briefcase and go, oh, where are you going? I'm going to the bank. What are you going to the bank for? I'm going to speak to the bank manager, get a loan. And now here we are where it's like, oh, I need a loan. Yeah, I've been approved. Right.
Fucking mortgages. I could go to
but that's the point, right? And one could argue that but I preferred it with the human touch. It was more important, and there was less delinquent loans and all the rest of it. But yeah, fine. But times change, people things move forward. That's the where we are right now. Is AI is happening whether people like it or not. Mm-hmm. It's going to be in your CRM. It's going to be in your sort of search facilities and your creative content writing and in your outreach kind of platforms that you use, and you've kind of just got to accept it.
But I think you
can't just switch it off.
Responsible use of automation. Like,
Did I?
yeah, I mean, we don't want to. We don't want
I'm still shocked about Microsoft.
Can we clip that? Breaking news, short and responsible.
we have to throw you the odd bone. But we don't want to automate truck drivers off the road because, like you say, we end up with hundreds of thousands of people unemployed. But we do want to get rid of mundane stuff.
Low-level developers.
Exactly.
No, come on.
I think there's a really interesting argument there because I think that kind of misses the point. We would want to automate truck drivers off the road if it didn't make them unemployed. If they took that salary that they previously paid them and carried on and let a truck that was like safer and more frequently on time drive, nobody's complained about that. But the reality is that...
Are you talking about like universal income?
It's that utopian piece of like, AI. When I think of AI, it meant... it was supposed to do all the bullshit tasks that I don't want to do, so that I could write songs and draw pictures. And instead, it's writing songs and drawing pictures, and I'm still doing all the shit things. Like that's what it comes down to, doesn't it? Absolutely agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have a track record in automating things and taking jobs away from people and replacing them with jobs they can do. So that's just bullshit.
Or just no jobs at all.
That is
or
way
just no jobs at all, right? Or let's be frank. Or just no jobs at all. Go and enjoy fucking.
Just your job just changed, doesn't it? Like if I look at when I first started in marketing and recruitment, one of the biggest things I had to do every week was put jobs into newspapers and do the newspaper. I would say I don't do that now. But
what's a newspaper?
Well, exactly. But the job then became we put it jobs online. And now actually people are going, job boards aren't as useful as they used to be, etc. And so we're doing them something else. One is recruits.
There is recruits.
is the one.
But the job evolves. We're still the fundamental part of what we do in terms of putting the jobs on, but it's just
there was a quote I read once which was like, AI is not going to take your job. What's going to take your job is people who know how to use AI. Yeah. That's the key, right?
Yeah, I think it is actually.
That's what's going to happen.
I think if you bury your head in the sand and think you can just ignore it, you make a mistake.
I mean,
running a business especially.
But then...
Did you just take us off the live stream? Without allowing us to say bye or anything, no?
I'll put bye in the chat.
You fucking... Honestly.
Can't get the help. Yeah, you can't.
Turn it back on again.
There's still 10 people on there. Oh, no, now it's gone. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Right, should we do some fun shit now rather than talking about AI and how it's going to, like... that depressing.
Never have I ever. Nathan's really insistent on us playing Never Have I Ever.
Nathan really wants to. To be fair, most of this stuff was his ideas. He's really like he's trying to take us from this like boring business podcast to something a bit more interesting and engaging. But the problem is, though, it's more for his benefit. Really. He don't fall asleep while he's like,
job more interesting.
This is the worst
Nathan's
thing I've ever seen.
Do you know what's really funny though? Right? Is
you're not paying it.
That's funny. We don't
final demand yet.
Once we get the final demand, then we'll pay. No, but the funny thing is, he looked at the podcast. He's like, guys, listen, it looks really fucking cheap looking. Like, there's so many things that we need to do better with this. I'm just going to do this for you. We're like, yeah, okay, fine. He basically recruited himself. He just came in and was like, yeah, I'm going to do this for you now. We just agreed, like, yeah, okay, fine.
It's a bit more effective than an AI CV, isn't it?
Way more effective than a video CV. And if we were on LinkedIn Live, Paul Nightingale could have seen that.
Hang on, we've got Scott. Scott, we're still rolling here, mate. What's going on? No, come on, in you come.
Scott, say hi to everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, he's having a beer.
Right, so business superpower. So choose one superpower to boost your business. Let's start with you, Darren.
Consistency.
That's not superpower. Fucking hell, Darren, you're better than that.
That would be a great superpower.
Consistency, man.
Yeah. Sounds like some shit anime character.
No, don't say anime shit. Me and my son were just talking about that.
I love anime. My son loves it, and so does Nathan.
You love Dragon Ball Z. That's not.
I don't love Dragon Ball Z. No, I watched Invincible recently. That was really good.
Yeah, no, consistency, man. Definitely.
Consistency, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you need in business to be successful, is to be consistent.
What if you're consistently shit?
Well, then you would have a consistently
you
shit
didn't
business, but
specify
you'd still
consistency
be in
the
business.
positive manner. You just said consistency.
Although,
you just be
historically speaking, he's glass half full, though. So
you can be consistently shit and still be in business.
Can you?
Great example.
Right, so we are still rolling. This is going to go out. You can't say. You can't.
Fucking shots fired. Fuck you. I'm only joking.
They make recruitment websites, just like Darren, but better.
Not like mine.
They make them with
basically the LimeWire of recruitment websites.
LimeWire. That's a throwback.
They give you a website.
So what's your recruitment superpower?
Hang on. How does consistency get you to where you want to go to next?
I think he's pretty much covered that, hasn't he? Like, consistent.
He just said well, no, it could be consistent. Go on. How does consistency?
Well, because it's doing the consistent thing,
The consistency is consistently.
Basically doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
There isn't
no off days,
market candidates,
no downtime.
Market candidates do it consistently. People start stuff, it doesn't work, or it doesn't work in the volume that they want it to work, so they tail off and stop doing it.
Like the gym, a lot of people go to the gym, and after the first 2 or 3 weeks, they're just like, "This isn't working. I haven't got a six-pack yet," and therefore they quit. I've done that several times.
Sorry, did I laugh too loud?
Ouch.
I mean, you bring in the social media experts, and they say be consistent with your LinkedIn post, be consistent with your Facebook post, be consistent with candidate marketing, be consistent with
I do
your
actually think it's a really good superpower.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So
I'm
hard
with you.
to be consistent.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
So that's all going to be shit now.
Slowly warming the room.
Yeah, he's right. He's not there. Go on then. Yours.
I don't know if it's a superpower, but I'd like to. We do a lot on Google Ads and a lot on like mainstream advertising, digital marketing, and I feel like there should be a fairer ballpark with like the big suppliers having big spends and just winning the business and just eating everyone alive. So it's not a superpower, but I'd like to like balance out
level the playing field.
Yeah, and actually small businesses leveling it out. Just because someone's got $100,000 a month and someone's got $5,000 a month doesn't mean that person should always be at the top of the city.
So how would that be judged then? Based on kind of content,
performance, what you do, what your business does, and how it supports your clients.
Some could.
What if you're a business that was recently been bought by Microsoft? Therefore, your performance is great.
Some could argue that the ones that are now bigger, who are bigger on the basis of consistent performance and that kind of thing. But I get the point, which is how am I supposed to even compete with
in that space?
Yeah, you know, I want that keyword, and it's worth $5,000. Like
some of our industry, like 40-50 quid a word now, and like just on a word just to get someone on.
So almost like socialist SEO.
SEO. Socialist search engine optimizations.
There's an idea there. We're creating a fucking search engine that is just pure socialism.
Recruitsy, we can call it.
We could call it Recruitsy.
Recruitsy search.
Socializzy.
But Google's a 2-year-old child, so it doesn't.
It really is. It really is. It doesn't care at all. No.
It just wants.
It just wants your money.
$5,000.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's exactly what
it's not super bad, but make it a level playing field.
Well, I mean, it's just as much a superpower as consistency.
It's a good one. I like it.
Group doesn't agree though.
James,
you have to leave that one.
I'm not quite sure how exactly it would manifest as a superpower, but business development is definitely the hardest part of my business. I've got quite a complicated service that's difficult to explain. I think the ability to call somebody and they always answer would be really good.
And understand.
That's a great superpower.
That's a great superpower.
Yeah. And buy.
Yeah. So no matter how hard they try to resist, like, it's an unknown number.
They're like, hi, James, Luke Testway, and they're like,
yes.
I know. I completely understand, and yes, I need your service.
I think just the opportunity to be able to speak to people directly, I think, would be great. I think the kind of gripe that I have with LinkedIn is that it sort of created.
Well, careful, Darren will have you.
Yeah, you might do. I think the kind of gripe that I've got with it is that it kind of puts you on a level playing field with everybody else, right? So you've effectively increased the amount of competition. I think that if you adopted it early, a bit like some of you guys had said, it's given you like an elevated position in your market. But now that's the baseline, it's the minimum, right? So I feel like every time I contact,
twice as hard with your content, content and your output on LinkedIn. But that in itself is a job.
Yeah, I wish it was as easy as being able to speak.
Consistency man, and if you had consistency man and SSSAO man,
we saw it.
You'd be in a good starting point. Yeah,
I got a way easier one. So mine, I'm a villains kind of guy. I love my villains, right? So mine would be compared to Kryptonite. just make everybody infinitely shit. Therefore, I don't need to change
on an average performance.
I don't need to change anything about what I do. All I gotta do is just
get rid of all your reputation.
So you can be inconsistent as you like.
The playing field could be as fucking inconsistent as it wants. My performance is inconsistent. Nobody needs to answer the phone. Just compared to Kryptonite. Everybody else is straight away just fucking shit. And all of a sudden I've won. I'm like the Lex Luthor of the business world.
I can't think of a good one. I'm just to say invisibility.
That's a great one.
How would invisibility make your business better? That's the opposite of what your business
Make
is.
your business
In
worse.
fact, if I had to choose how compared to Kryptonite would work, it would be invisibility to all of my competitors.
Could you be in those meetings that you're shut out from, and you know what's actually going on, and then you'd be able to put forward a strategy.
That's
What I did there was I just turned invisible and he fought my battle for me.
You can tell which one of us at the
Hence my
table is a voyeur, can't you?
I don't think that's what you do with invisibility.
I go to the girls' toilet. No, yeah, just, I don't know, yeah, invisibility. I don't know.
That's shit. Try again.
It's
Go on.
a superpower.
Yeah, go on.
No, that invisibility.
We'll come back. We'll come back to you.
Down. No, I'm doubling down. Invisibility.
Fucking that's shit. That's so shit.
I think it's really boring, but it's just I need more time in the day, like to get everything
27
done now.
hours a day.
Yeah,
You need to be on Mars, don't you?
28 hours a day. Tell me to stop when you're ready. 29 hours a day.
52.
52
and a
hours a
half.
day. And a half.
Yeah,
I couldn't think of anything worse than a longer day.
Yeah, agreed.
I just think in terms of having time to do more
Yeah.
stuff.
So I just love work.
Yeah. If I had to choose one thing that would make my life infinitely shitter, apart from being invisible to the entire commercial world, it would be having a longer day. Yeah. Having a longer day. There's no wonder you two are sticking up for each other.
No, so your back's aching and your eyes sore at 10 in the morning.
And you've got a hangover.
Yeah. Imagine being in construction. Imagine you're a brickie.
You can't tell.
You're like, fucking hell, I've got a 75-hour day.
But can't tell. You're invisible.
Yeah.
I think like having more productive hours in the day would be great. But I think
You've had your turn.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, let's leave these with their shit ideas.
Do you know what I'm thinking of all the years, probably not so much now, but where people tell you one thing and actually do the other. So getting them to actually say what they're thinking and it's the truth.
The truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to, I'm going to take that job and then not
bomb it.
taking it for whatever reason.
Yeah, fair enough.
And there's many of them. I think honesty of they just say what they think when you ask them.
Oh,
Have you seen
that's me. People don't always like it, Steve.
Yeah, well, Lynn thought you hated us because she's just like, I don't think she enjoyed our podcast. Maybe that was too honest.
It's because you took the piss out of his shoes.
I said I liked it.
Ice cream lady, what would you be yours?
Ice cream lady.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. It could have been worse. It could have
I
gone
don't know.
really
Well, I'm going to go with along with the sort of slightly wanky ones we've already had, but I'd say
Invisible.
focus. Because for me, I've got ADHD and I struggle to focus on one thing. I get very distracted by a new idea of like for my business. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to do this now, and I get all carried away with a new idea, and then I haven't finished the old idea. And then there's the consistent stuff that I need to still be doing as well. But I'm distracted by the new idea. And then a few weeks later, no, there's another new idea now.
And don't you just wish you
And
could
that
just
other
be
idea
invisible?
hasn't been done.
So this ADHD thing, right? We've casually diagnosed Nitin with it because he has these ideas. He'll come up with a concept. He'll get to a certain point, and he's like, yeah, okay, we're in situ. And then he goes off and does another thing. I'm like, Nick, we haven't finished this yet. Yeah, no, but I've got this thing. It's like,
You do that.
I'll finish this then, I guess, yeah? More recently, he decided to buy... I say more recently, it was Christmas time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, don't know. So,
No.
you're invisible, you can't say anything. Right? So he
This is where
bought...
the invisibility power goes.
Yeah.
Gone.
He bought...
It's not even-
Do you know like those little shitty humidifiers that you plug in
They're
and
not
they just...
shitty, everyone's got one.
For free. Right? They blow little fucking, like, mist into the air.
A humidifier, right? You put water in it, and it does some magic. And
There's some like perfume in it or something. It makes it smell.
Yeah, basically.
You
Right?
could just
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
One of the policies.
So,
okay.
yeah. So he goes on. He just turns around like our desks are sort of like opposite ends of the office. He turns around and was like, "Sean, you trust me, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, no worries. I'm spending £400." And he then like makes a purchase. About 8 to 12 weeks later, these two boxes turn up, right? And it's post Christmas now, and there's like 200 humidifiers or whatever it is. And I'm like, what? Why have you bought these? Oh well, I thought I'd like sell them on eBay or something over Christmas. I'm like, well, Christmas is gone. He's like, yeah, I know. So now we've got about 180.
But next Christmas,
Yeah, we got about 180
So
humidifiers.
basically, does anyone want a humidifier?
Yeah,
so do you know what we started doing? I had this great idea of like, I'll buy some RecTalk stickers, we'll slap them on them, and then we'll give them to the guests when they come on the podcast. BB's managed to get 2 out because every time we have a fucking podcast guest, they leave and then she's like, "Oh, I forgot about the humidifiers." And I'm like,
as former guests of the podcast,
been asked back.
Yeah.
Collect our humidifier.
That's what the whole table.
We need some office space.
As former guests of the podcast, right? How many of you are really pointing to this humidifier thing?
they're going to get on one.
I definitely want one now. I'm not being funny. I'm leaving.
Fuck what? How many do you want?
Grey or white? You can choose pink, grey or white. We won't even put a RecTalk sticker on it. Just take them.
I'm just going to change my idea about business power. I want a humidifier as my business power.
I shall grant you.
Which one is it then? Because they sell dehumidifiers as well.
It's a humidifier. No, dehumidifiers suck the moisture out of the air.
That's at the other end of the
and then that's coming in November. I've got 400 on back order, mate. $12.99.
If they make a product that does both, which one is it we need?
It's like having like a lawnmower, like seeds to help your lawn grow.
You want a humidifier if your room is like lacking moisture and like feels dry.
I don't ever remember being in a room. I don't ever remember being in a room where I'd be like, I wish it was a lot more humid in here.
It's lacking moisture. Dry in here.
Do you also sell like humidity gauges so that we can
Don't stop your bypass.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I want one. I just don't know which one I need.
We do now. Yeah. They're on their way.
So, a couple of categories here for you guys, right? So there's either the never have I ever in business, or you could do your most embarrassing phone call or meeting.
The most embarrassing one's got to be better, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah, that's better than the never have.
But I feel like Steve's going to pussy out on this.
I don't really have any embarrassing.
He's never been embarrassed.
He's top biller already.
Listen, you can't write a book called Top Biller and be the best-selling author in the entire world in recruitment.
Across 65 countries.
Yeah. And then be like, but I've got an embarrassing story. Like,
do you know what the embarrassing story is? He never got a humidifier.
No.
I have never had a humidifier.
Never have I.
He's got one.
Genuinely,
you seem to be on the never have I ever coach. So
that was
I think embarrassing stories way better.
Oh, embarrassing. Okay, so go on then. You're
better than a bit of public humiliation.
No,
I don't think so.
Yeah, at no point you look back in your career and be like, that was cringe. Can't believe that happened. That was weird. Wish I'd have played that differently.
I got one.
Probably should have wrote that one.
No, I'll start us off.
I can't think of any anyway.
I did a BD email to a client. And I can't, it was a big client, it was like a FTSE type client, and I was like, I'm going to send an email. But I remember we were in the old office in Sutherland House, and I was doing it whilst I was doing something else, which is, you should never do that. Like, focus, if that was a power, then that I didn't have it. And I wrote this email, sent it out to the client, and I thought, okay, I'm going to follow up in about 10-15 minutes, just with like, hey, did you get my email? I called up and I was like, hey, yeah, look, it's Sean from Mark Group, blah, blah, blah. I had a chat. She's like, yeah, I got your email. You called me a different name in the email. And I was like, did I? And she was like, yeah. I was like, no, I don't think I did. And then I opened up the email and I was like, fuck's sake, I did. And I was like, I'm not really sure how I'm going to recover from this. And she's like, you can't. It's fucking disgraceful. And then put the phone down on me. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, well, no chance of me working with her again.
Ouch.
Yeah. And that was one of those things.
I mean, that's like a 4 out of 10. It's not that bad. I mean, people get names wrong. Do you know how the G and the T on a keyboard are really close together?
Yeah.
I once typed out best retards.
Yeah, it's like
and sent it.
I asked my team to do that to 7,000 people.
Whoa!
They called everybody Hannah.
Yeah, they're best retards.
And they did it by retards. And they said, I've made a mistake.
No.
And I was like, yep, you have made a mistake. At which point, the footsteps of the MD coming around the corner.
Get the fuck out. Yeah. That's brilliant.
That's funny.
See, mine was just to one person.
No.
I felt awful.
I remember when you said that. You're like, oh my god, I just said best retards.
Best retards. Oh my god.
Yeah. I went to. I was invited to a podcast. And I happened to mention in this podcast.
Hang on. There are other podcasts apart from RecTalk.
It'll make sense in a minute.
It's all about us.
And
You've done something.
I was invited to this brilliant podcast, and I mentioned that I was dyslexic, and throughout the rest of the podcast I just got berated for using dyslexia as an excuse for everything. Totally embarrassed to the point that I thought I might not sound dyslexic anymore. Anyway, in the meeting after the podcast, I, as a dyslexic, often get tongue-tied or words don't come out the right way, and I happened to mention that I like racism. Didn't I, Nitin?
You did.
What I meant to say was, I love.
For like a second and a half, I was like, I don't know where he's going with this.
So I meant to say I love outing racists, right? But obviously,
I like racism.
Imagine saying I like racism in front of two brown guys on a podcast.
So yeah, but fortunately, I don't love racism.
You just like it.
I just left out the out word. But yeah, that was quite embarrassing.
Oh,
I like racism. I remember that. That was an interesting moment. I think you and I, he's like, I like racism. We were like, okay.
Did you hear what he just said? Oh yeah.
Come on, Simon.
Not super, but I went to sell to a recruitment business about 5-6 years ago, and I turned up open neck suit jacket, jeans, and
just a suit jacket.
Yeah, nothing like that. It would be more funny if it's.
Big old nipples on show like that.
But I actually got thrown out, so because I wasn't wearing a tie. So they said you cannot come in and sell to me if you're not wearing a tie.
In the office of the
of the MD of the recruitment business.
Wow. That's more embarrassing for the MD of the recruitment.
5 years ago.
That's not embarrassing for you, bro.
That is
so fucking lame.
If you can't make the effort to put the tie on, I don't want to make the effort to allow you to sell to me. That's all
ridiculous. We met you at Hitachi, and ever since we met you then, like when you were working for Hitachi and we were just like a fucking lifestyle two-man business.
And we still a lifestyle two-man business.
We like this guy. He's like, he knows his stuff. He's a likeable guy. And I was like, no, that's embarrassing for him.
Yeah.
Tell us a real one.
He's probably watching us that.
Tell us a real one.
Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you, mate.
Not wearing a tie.
Yeah, the only one that's wearing neck attire is Rebecca, and that's a pretty bold move in terms of neck attire. That's like big.
That's a necklace.
matches the dress. Come on.
In fairness to the recruiter, though, it was Theo Pathetis, and he did own Time Rack at the time, right, as well as the recruitment company. That was his problem.
Oh, yeah.
Theo the fetus. I'm dyslexic.
I'm dyslexic and racist, is basically what he said.
I've got a kind of relevant recruitment one where this was when I was on an independent contract, and the guy that recruited me was very, very new, and I had to, in every phone call that I had with him, listen to his manager prescribe exactly what it was that he needed to say to me.
Before he was on a two-way.
and to kind of like each of my replies, how he should then kind of reply. And I think that in the entirety of his recruitment career, I was the only person that he faced. So I felt really terrible about that. But yeah, not so embarrassing on my part. It was very awkward.
We need an embarrassing story for you, not for him.
I'll think
and
about
it doesn't have to be recruitment related.
No, it doesn't.
It can be software testing.
Go on, Rebecca. There must be a time you totally fucking, like, what happened? You fell off the pole or writing a CV or something?
Writing this? Do you think that's what she does?
Multitasking.
I don't know. I'm struggling to think of anything. I've just embarrassed myself constantly by putting my foot in it all the time. So it's
just like, well, it's embarrassing for other people, just not me.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got one that's a recruitment based one, but I wouldn't say. I don't know. I guess it's kind of embarrassing that it's a bit boring. But like I'd had 2 interviews for a newspaper. I was trying to get a job in an office basically because I'd done door-to-door sales, and I'd worked at TGI's, I'd done loads of other stuff, but I really wanted to get like a normal hours job. I was so sick of working like nights and stuff. And I had 2 really good interviews where I literally said, you've got to give me a chance here. You know, I haven't got the experience, but I know I'll be really good at this. And I'd really convinced, like the big head honcho woman, I'd really convinced her. So then the recruitment agency were like, can you just pop in? They're going to offer you the job, but can you pop in a third time? Because they just want to chat through some details with you and stuff and check some stuff. And I was like, I'm going on holiday later. And they were like, just pop in, 'cause it's quite close to where I live. And I was like, all right, fine. So I had my holiday clothes on. I was like in like, I don't know, whatever, some like little summery dress or something, like super casual.
Yeah,
anyway.
kind of ready to...
Super casual. I went in there, I was sat in the reception for ages. I was like, why are they making me wait so long? And like I could see a few people like come back and forth and stuff. And they eventually came and spoke to me. They were like, the manager's come down. They didn't think it was the same person because you weren't like all smart and stuff. And like, it's supposed to be a third interview, and we were just like, weren't sure what's going on. Just supposed to meet the other manager. And I was like, what? And so obviously I had to say, look, I'm really sorry. The recruitment agency told me this was not an interview. They told me that you offered me the job. And I honestly, I obviously wouldn't have worn this. I would have dressed smart and stuff. So I had to do the interview, like just dress casual. And luckily, like, because I was very upfront and honest about it, they were fine and they offered me the job. But
that reminds me of, do you know what's the Will Smith film? where
Pursuit of Happiness.
yeah, where he ends up getting arrested and he's in his painting gear, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's shitty from the recruitment agency, though. That's fucking that's not great.
I just felt like an absolute twat. Basically.
Who was your recruitment agency?
Who was
it? Yeah.
There's a chap called Darren Revell who was at the time talking about IT, internet
It would have been
recruitment.
somewhere. It was in Brent. I lived in Reading, so I don't know.
Which is where you were coming from.
Never placed anyone else.
They were all too casual, weren't they?
I've got a second embarrassing story.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, go on then.
So this was before I came into recruitment, and I was looking for a job in telephone sales, telecom sales, and the recruitment consultant said the famous last words: "No one's ever failed at first interview on this company, so you'll be fine." It was Mercury Telecoms around the time all that BT business was split up, and so I went in for the interview, and he was asking me all the stop standard, where do you see yourself in 5 years, and blah blah blah, but he pre-warned me that he only had half an hour, and it was getting to the end of this half an hour session, and he said to me, "So what do you think is the true art of sales?" And I said, "Well, being able to ask questions." He said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, like the more questions that you can ask, the more wider you can open the sale, which gives you all this information to close it." And he goes, "Right, okay, yeah, that's cool. Well, that's the end of the interview for me. Have you got any questions?" And I said, "No." When the recruitment consultant debriefed me, he said, "You are the first person that's ever failed at the first interview, and it was because you didn't ask any questions." So.
Brilliant. Right,
Steve,
this has gone on long enough.
I'm still thinking.
We're still waiting for
We've got 5 minutes, well, not even 5, we've got 3 minutes, and I need to wrap this up. I need to thank our followers. I need to end season 1 and move on to season 2.
Yeah.
And you still haven't shared an embarrassing story.
I don't have any.
Come on.
I thought of a better one if you want
Genuinely
me to say
do
yourself.
not. You
Go on, Jimmy.
say it as if it was me.
Far more embarrassing.
Yeah.
You know my embarrassing story.
I'll make it much worse than that.
Go for it.
I had an instance once where I was trying to sort of like change the direction of my career. I used to be in a more sort of senior management focused position. I wanted to get kind of closer to engineering, like be more hands on. So I got an opportunity to take redundancy and took it voluntary, and then went to interview at another company for a much more junior role, taking like quite a significant pay cut. But because I wanted to get closer to engineering, so I thought I'm going to have to kind of like fall back onto like my base level of skills, kind of like forget all the seniority, whatever. And within the first 5 minutes of the interview, she said, "I don't think you're cut out for this. I think we need to put you in for a more junior role." And it was like 5 minutes into it.
Feels bad.
Ouch.
Yeah, really bad. So she cut the interview
That's
short.
hilarious. Oh, yeah, I don't think anyone can talk about that.
That's quite bad.
You're too shit for this shit job that you applied for.
Yeah, we have apprenticeships.
I redeemed myself. I was the most senior engineer after about 18 months, but yeah, I obviously didn't interview very well.
Some people don't, though.
It worked out well for you in the end.
It did.
Yeah, some people just don't interview well.
No. Some people don't, and some people just don't. Yeah.
Some people just don't offer up their embarrassing stories either.
So,
All about personal brands.
you've got a book coming out soon.
Yeah.
Rebecca, you do CVs. Rob really needs some marketing business. We're giving him a lot of grief, but no, you're.
He's a marketing genius,
He's a
basically.
marketing
within
genius.
the
He is.
within
He
the
is.
recruitment world. Rob's a marketing genius. He really knows his shit.
Pair up with Darren, who makes the best recruitment website.
Second best.
No,
Christmas
the best. The best. He's retired. He doesn't want to do it anymore.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The crown is
I'll
yours.
take
He's
the mental
focused more on the job board now.
Lovely.
And Simon, invoice financing. How's the compare factoring going?
Good. Yeah, really good.
Because you guys are branched out away from just recruitment finance.
Yeah,
right?
so my business partner Ian and the other business gone into different sectors. So yeah,
Excellent.
construction. Yeah, really good actually. Yeah.
Doing well?
Apart from Google, but yeah.
Apart from Google. Fuck Google. Don't worry about it. It's a child. 2-year-old child.
Yeah,
I will remember that now when I'm messaging them. I will
Software
definitely remember.
Yeah.
So, look, we want to thank you guys for taking time out to come to our season finale. None of the snacks have been eaten, so what an absolute waste of money that was. But yeah, no. Hopefully, our viewers will come back for season 2. We want to thank 2,500 YouTube subscribers, 700 subscribers on Spotify and across the podcast platforms, so Apple, Amazon, and so on and so forth.
I didn't know LinkedIn was on Microsoft, mate. I'm not going to swap that. You're asking the wrong guy. I'm just here for
Thank you guys for making the journey today. Let's have a few more drinks and enjoy the rest of it.
Humidifier.
She's gone there. No. Can you bring them on camera so we're all just chatting shit? Like here comes your humidifier. Right.
Round of applause for the humidifier.
Yeah, a round of applause for the humidifiers. Thank you so much for tuning into this season of RecTalk. We'll see you season 2. Thank you very much.
Cool.